صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن أعداءهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات، فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم، برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانة، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي، لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب. وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبروا إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا، وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم، وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم، وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم، وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم، ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم، أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية، وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين، على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله، في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية، اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني يتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم، وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم العن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد، وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم العن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله، اللهم العنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم العن الثانية والثالثة والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد والشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. ज़ैनब के आंसू में क्या देखती है सोगरा, ज़ैनब के आंसू में मंजर है करबला का, ज़ैनब के आंसू में बरची का ज़ख्म ताज़ा تا زندگی رہے گا، برچی کا زخم تازہ تا زندگی رہے گا، اکبر کا ہے کلیجہ زینب کے آنسو میں کیا دیکھتی ہے صغرا، زینب کے آنسو میں صغرا نظر اٹھاؤ، قاسم کا حال دیکھو، صغرا نظر اٹھاؤ، قاسم کا حال دیکھو، بکھرا ہوا ہے لاشا، زینب کے آنسو میں کیا دیکھتی ہے صغرا، زینب کے آنسو میں اے دیدائے تصور تجھ کو دکھائی دے گا، اے دیدائے تصور تجھ کو دکھائی دے گا، چھوٹا سا ایک جھولا زینب کے آنسو میں کیا دیکھتی ہے صغرا، زینب کے آنسو میں شبیر پیش دور جائیں گے ساتھ لے کر، شبیر پیش دور جائیں گے ساتھ لے کر، بھیگا ہوا ماما زینب کے آنسو میں منظر ہے کربلا کا، زینب کے آنسو میں صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد۔
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. ایک اور صلوات علی محمد وآل محمد. صلی علی محمد وآل محمد.
آئی جب کرب و بلا لوٹ کہ بنتے زہرا قبر عباس پہ زینب کا رہا یہ نوحہ تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی ارے تیری شہزادی یوں در در نہ پھرائی جاتی تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی کبھی اسرب تو کبھی سوئے نجف دیکھتے تھے ارے کبھی تیرے کٹے شانوں کی طرف دیکھتے تھے شہن اکبر کے کلیجے سے نکالی برچھی تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی ہو گئی ثانی زہرا بھی ضعیفہ پاس ارے سانس لیتی ہوں مگر میں نہیں زندہ باس ارے تیرے ٹکڑوں کی قسم تیری بہن ٹوٹ گئی تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی پیاس میں بھی تجھے آواز دیے جاتے تھے ارے زیر خنجر بھی تیرا نام لیے جاتے تھے گردن شاہ پہ جب شمر چلاتا تھا چھری تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا
نہیں ہوتا غازی میرے ہاتھوں کو بھی رسی سے گیا تھا باندھا، اور میں بھی ہاتھوں کا نہ لے پائی سہارا بھیا، ارے جیسے تو زی سے گرا ویسے میں ناقے سے گری، تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی، کیسے بتلاؤں وہ دربار کا منظر بھیا، کھیلتا تھا سر سرور سے ستم گئے بھیا، ارے مارتا تھا میرے مظلوم کے ہونٹوں پہ چھڑی، تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی، ہاں تیری شہزادی یوں در در نہ پھرائی جاتی، تو اگر ہوتا تو ایسا نہیں ہوتا غازی، اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
If I can request all the brothers to move forward a little bit with 3 loud salawats ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
شمرنے پہل سکینہ کو دکھایا خنجر، شمرنے پہل سکینہ کو دکھایا خنجر، شمرنے پہل سکینہ کو دکھایا خنجر، شمرنے پہلے سکینہ کو دکھایا خنجر، بعد میں گردن
نے سرور پہ چلایا خنجر، کبھی حیدر نے گلا رکھا، کبھی صغیرہ نے، کبھی حیدر نے گلا رکھا، کبھی زغیرہ نے، کتنے معصوم پہ ظالم نے چلایا خنجر۔ باپ پر وار تو بیٹی پہ تماچے برسے، باپ پر وار تو بیٹی پہ تماچے برسے، جب بھی قاتل کا سکینہ نے ہٹایا خنجر، ارے ایک انگوٹھی کے لیے کاٹ دی انگشت حسین، ایک انگوٹھی کے لیے کاٹ دی انگشت حسین، لاش پر شہ کی تجھے رحم نہ آیا خنجر، ایک شرابی کو اذیت کا کہا اندازہ، ایک شرابی کو اذیت کا کہا اندازہ، جس طرح چاہ ستم گر نے چلایا خنجر، قتل زینب کو کیا چھین کے چادر سر سے، قتل زینب کو کیا چھین کے چادر سر سے، اس طرح شمر نے نیزے کو بنایا خنجر، شمر نے پہل سکینہ کو دکھایا خنجر پھیر کر منہ کو علی کہنے لگے یا زہرا پھیر کے منہ کو علی کہنے لگے یا زہرا اتنی بے دردی سے ظالم نے پھرایا خنجر شمرنے پہل سکینہ کو دکھایا خنجر پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات
Please request again that everyone push for the loud salu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، حیدری، فنان اہل بیت پہ لعنت، آل ثقیفہ پہ لعنت، محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
For the hastening of the reappearance of the Holy Imam, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والحمد لله رب الشاكرين الحمد والثناء لرب الحسن والحسين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا حبيب قلوبنا شفيع ذنوبنا طبيب نفوسنا أبي الزهراء أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتخبين ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وهو أصدق الصادقين وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة وقال في آية أخرى وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات أتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال أحد الظالمين صلوات اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Dear brothers, respected elders, mu'mineen, and the Azadaran of Imam Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam. Today's Majlis is mansoob to the Arba'een of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And for the non-Urdu speaking world, this is also considered one of the last majalis that I held in the commemoration of Imam Hussein alayhi salam with regards to the Masa'ib and the tragedy of Karbala. Although in Pakistan and India, the Majalis al-Aza are continued till 9th of Rabiul Awwal. And khair, even though it can be discussed why the Majalis are carried out till the 9th of Rabiul Awwal and why others don't do it, but if the main aim is to do the dhikr of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, or even to look for an excuse to just commemorate Imam Hussein alayhi salam, then it shouldn't really matter. Although we have narrations that, several narrations actually, as to who actually died on the 9th of Rabiul Awwal, and that is the day that Imam Zamana Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif also becomes the Imam due to Imam Hasan al-Askari alayhi salam's shahadat a day before. Khair. Nonetheless, Arba'in just passed by. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all the ziyarat of the Za'ireen that are present in Karbala and that have returned. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to do the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His holy book, in which there is no doubt, states when it comes to the status of Imamah, He speaks about His Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, where He says, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Hazrat Ibrahim, Nabi Allah Ibrahim alayhi salam, with basically 3 tests. Although if you were to look at the book of history, you'll see that there were many more tests in details about Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, but basically if you were to categorize them, you can give them 3 categories. Category 1, that would be Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam's test when it comes to his financial situation. Test number 2, when it comes to Ibrahim alayhi salam, was his actual life himself, a test of his life. And then the 3rd test was of his children. And indeed, I think every parent can testify that at one point, no matter how much you love yourself, no matter how much you love your money, no matter how dear your wealth is to you, no matter how dear your own self, your body is to you, once you become a parent, there is nothing more worthy than your children to you. It doesn't matter whether it's your wealth or yourself. You will be willing to sacrifice all your money upon your children. You'll be willing to sacrifice yourself upon your children, right? So money and yourself, even your own health, is nothing in comparison to when it comes to your children. So Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was also tested through his children, yani Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam mainly. As I said before, if we were to go into details, yes, there would be many other details about the tests that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam through. Although those are the main 3 tests if we were to categorize them. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I tested Ibrahim. وَذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. When we tested Ibrahim alayhi salam, he completed it to its fullest sense. 100% Ibrahim alayhi salam achieved success in his test, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a reward said to him, Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. O Ibrahim, I have now made you the imam upon nas. Nas meaning people. Now, if you look to Hazrat Ibrahim, look at Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, Nabi Allah Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's already a prophet, he's already a Nabi, right? What does a Nabi do? He brings you information. It comes from Naba. There's a surah in the Holy Quran by the name of Naba as well, right? Yani, to inform something with something, bring a khabar to someone. That's a Nabi. Then you have a Rasul that comes with a message, right? And those Rasul are not necessarily Imams too. So meaning all those 124,000 Anbiya are indeed Nabi, the prophets, but they're not all Rasul. In a narration, Rasul, the amount of Rasul we have is 313, some say a bit more, some say less. But it seems as though that there is a status of Nabuwa, which by you become a prophet and a Nabi, and then after that there's a higher status by which you become a Rasul, right? And after that, when we look at Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam was already a Nabi. He was already a Rasul. So with him already having the status and the mansab of Nabuwa and Risala, he was already a Nabi, he was already a Rasul. So when Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, Nabi Allah Ibrahim alayhi salam is now completed his test, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving him a further promotion. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, now inni ja'iluka linnasi imama, that goes to show that this mansab and this status of imama has to be higher than the status of Nabuwa and Risala. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made sense, because he was already a Nabi. He was already a Rasul. But now he's also becoming Imam and Imam. So at least, if not many things are clear as to what Imama is exactly, we can at least agree upon the fact that it's something, or it's a status over and above Nabuwa and Risala, above prophethood itself, by itself. Of course, we have Anbiya that was also Imam. Nabiullah Ibrahim alayhi salam was also an Imam. Ismail alayhi salam was also an Imam. Rasulullah, above everyone, who's the best of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, he was also an Imam. Just briefly to tell you, or to just speak about the tests that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam had to endure, and then who actually becomes an Imam, and then what are the signs of an Imam, and what's the purpose of even speaking of this topic, Imama itself. Inshallah, we'll clarify these three things, and then we'll go ahead towards Masail. Test number one was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Ibrahim alayhi salam with his own self, and his life was in danger at one point. And what was that point? When Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam took advantage, saw that his village is now empty, there's no one else, and obviously around him were only polytheists. There was only mushrikeen and mulhideen around him. Hazrat Ibrahim at one point took the opportunity and went along, and he cut the idols into pieces with an axe. That's what the riwayah says. So when they returned, the Ahlul Qaryah, the people of that village, they returned and said, hold on, who did this? And everybody turned around to each other and said, well, you were with us, you were with us. There was one person that wasn't with us, and it only makes sense that it was him. So they come to Ibrahim alayhi salam's doorstep. Said, oh Ibrahim, are you the person that's cut our idols and our gods into pieces? Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam says, listen, before I answer that question, give me the opportunity to serve you something. Now, without thinking about it, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam quickly gave them some water, some food. Right after they had eaten food, they started to speak to each other, saying that, listen, it's not the tradition. You know, when we want to punish someone, then it cannot be someone that we've just eaten from. It wouldn't make sense. He's just literally given us food and water. It doesn't seem right to punish him for it. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam overheard him and then said, if you still wish to punish me, then just, pay me back by doing one thing. Okay, Ibrahim, what's that one thing? He said, go into sajda and accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we are even, and then you can punish me. So once again, they started to talk to each other like, well, what are we meant to do? Obviously, we don't believe in that one God. So why are we going to do sajda to him? We believe in our idols. That's what Shaitan did waswasa to them. That listen, you can merely just go into prostration, but keep your hearts with the idols. That's when Ibrahim alayhi salam made a dua in his heart. This is what the narration says. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ibrahim alayhi salam says, oh Allah, my job was to bow their heads for you. Now it's your job to bow their hearts towards you. Right? So that was the first. Well, now they've repaid him. They've paid. They even basically, because now Ibrahim alayhi salam had asked for the payment in the state of a sajda. So now they were happy again. They said, okay, we'll grab Ibrahim alayhi salam and we'll throw him into a big fire that they had made. Now this fire, the narration mentions, was so huge and big that even when a bird would fly over it, it would literally just roast and fall down onto the ground. Khair, Ibrahim alayhi salam, they in a sort of a cart, they set him there, they tie him in ropes, and now Ibrahim alayhi salam is meant to burn in this big fire that they've made. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down Jibreel alayhi salam with a qamis, with a shirt. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Jibreel, go give this to Ibrahim. In fact, go make sure that he wears it and tell him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you from everything that's hot and cold. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected Ibrahim alayhi salam at that point, and that was the first that was his first test, which was about his own life. So the test of life itself. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was saved there, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh Ibrahim, you completed this test. Test number 2 that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam goes through is what? Is the test of his own money and wealth, his own financial situation. All Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam at one point has is 12 sheep. Now with these 12 sheep, he's walking through a market and he hears a voice. What does this voice say? It says, Subuhun Quddusun Rabbul Malaikatu war Ruh. And now Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, this sound and this sentence was so soothing to his heart that Ibrahim alayhi salam turns around and said, oh Abdullah, can you say it once more? Can you repeat this? Because Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was so used to seeing people that wouldn't believe in that true one God. But now that somebody is doing tasbih and taqdees of this one true God that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam is trying to call people towards, now Ibrahim alayhi salam is very happy. He turns around, he says, oh Abdullah, can you repeat that for me? He says, sure, but what are you going to pay me? Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam says, I have 12 sheep, you can take 6 of them. He says, sure. So he repeats it. Subuhun Quddusun Rabbul Malaikatu war Ruh. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam once again gets really happy. And it's so heartwarming for him at such a moment that he asks that person again. He says, Ya Abdullah, can you repeat that sentence again? He says, sure, but what are you going to give me this time? He says, I've got 6 sheep left, just take them too. So which leaves Hazrat Ibrahim with 0 sheep now. None. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a malak down, an angel down, and says, go tell Ibrahim, we have not taken these sheep from you. This person that was doing tasbih and taqdees in this country by mentioning your God's name, everyone's creator's name, was no other than another angel. Allah wanted to see, if you really and truly love me, how much money are you willing to spend in my name? So that goes to show that where you love someone, where you have muhabba for someone, if you carry ishq for someone, we claim to love Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we claim to have ishq for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would like us to see how much are you willing to spend in the name of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Hence why all these majalis from 1st of Muharram till today, and inshallah till the 9th of Rabiul Awwal, all over the world, doesn't matter, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, Europe, everywhere you see people are willing to spend in the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Why? So they can gain nearness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq to spend in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That was the second test. Which one was the third test? The third test is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions what to Ibrahim alayhi salam in his dream, that, oh Ibrahim, you have to go and you have to sacrifice your child Ismail alayhi salam. And in itself, it's a sad story. Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam's mother was brought in as the second wife of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, and it goes to show that, no matter how close, somebody can be to the prophets, certain things just fall back to their nature. So Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam's first wife said, oh, I can't bear a child, so why don't you get married again and get a second wife, right? Janab Sarah said this to Ibrahim alayhi salam. So he said, sure, but he said, you're the one that's going to be jealous, so just think about it. She said, no, I can't really get a child anyway, so I'll be okay. I want you to have a child. He said, rethink it, right? And maybe there's a big lesson in this anyways. We should all be thinking about the tactic that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam used. And maybe just stick to facts too. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was asked, go get another wife. He says, okay, sure, if you insist. You know, which man wouldn't go for a second one if the wife insists that much? Khair. So he gets a wife by the name, and her name is not Hajara. There's different narrations about what her actual name is. Hajara comes from Hijra because she was made, you know, she was forced to migrate. That's why her name is Hajara. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works in mysterious ways. This wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam, comes into the house of Sarah and Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him a child through Hajara. As soon as Hajara has given birth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gives a child to Janab Sarah. She's like, what's this? She's like, all right, I wanted you to have a child, but now you already have one in this house. In fact, it's through me. I don't want to see this lady again. So Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam turned around to God and said, oh Allah, this lady, I asked her in the beginning, think about it, but she didn't really want to think about it. So she said, okay, I went for it, and I'd already warned her this could happen, right? And now it did happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't worry, take Hajra with you. He said, Ya Allah, there is no life around the area that we live in. It's not, obviously Hijaz wasn't the way it is today. Saudi Arabia, it was basically desert. People wouldn't even want to live there because they couldn't find any traces of water there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take her to the desert, to the Hijaz, and don't worry about it. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam said, oh Allah, how do I not worry about it? He said, don't worry. The son that I have given you is the representative of me. So don't worry. He represents me. He's the representative of Tawheed. I will take care of him. Don't worry about it. And hence all the incident of Zamzam, the water that we drink today to get mutabarrak, to gain blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam became thirsty, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Janab Hajra to rub her feet, against the earth of Mecca, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted her water. And hence Safar and Marwa and all this, the pilgrimage or the tradition or the acts that's partaken in Hajj is actually the incident of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salam. Khair. Ismail alayhi salam becomes a young man now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh Ibrahim, you have to slaughter him. This is the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim alayhi salam, as difficult as it is for Ibrahim alayhi salam, he goes and he explains this dream to Ismail alayhi salam. What does Ismail alayhi salam say? He says, oh father, you'll find me amongst the patient ones. Don't worry about it. Ibrahim alayhi salam then went, and with the intention of actually slaughtering Ismail alayhi salam. Inshallah, one interesting point I would like to mention, and then one jumla or one sentence of the signs of an Imam alayhi salam, and then we'll move towards Masaib. If you notice, Ismail alayhi salam is asked. Ibrahim alayhi salam says, oh son, I have seen in my dream that I'm slaughtering you, and this is a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you accept it? He says, you'll find me amongst the patient ones. If you look at it, technically, Ismail alayhi salam knows that my father is going to slaughter me. Well, that technically becomes suicide then, right? Well, he's accepting that my father, he's going with his father innocently, he's going to be slaughtered. For those people that say that the Shias claim that their Imams have ilmul ghaib, or some of ilmul ghaib, because believing that the Imams alayhimus salam or Anbiya alayhimus salam, anyone ghairullah, anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the complete ilm of ghaib all the time is shirk. Shaykh Mufid rahmatullah alayhi has explained that beautifully. He said, believing that anybody but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the full ilmul ghaib of anything, of 100% ilmul ghaib all the time is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, because they are so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they want to know of the ghaib, Allah grants them that. Allah will never say no to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So meaning that yes, the Imam alayhi salam, if he was present today, he wouldn't know what's behind the wall, but if he wanted to know, he would know. But not that he has that ilmul ghaib by itself all the time. So the ishkal that's done on the Shias, if you claim that Imam Hussein alayhi salam knew, you say that Adam alayhi salam knew what would happen to Hussein alayhi salam. You said Ibrahim, Nuh, Isa, even Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam all knew what would happen to Hussein alayhi salam. But then why did you go to Karbala? Why didn't you just go elsewhere? we'll take it right back to this incident of Ismail. Ismail, so the whole argument is, if Imam Hussein knew, then why is he going to sacrifice himself? It be considered suicide. Likewise, we turn around and say, Ismail knew. Why was he following his father? And why was he willing to be slaughtered by his father? That's also suicide then? No, it goes to show there's a there is a difference between sacrifice and suicide. That which is done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes under the category of sacrifice and fidya, not under the category of suicide. So yes, somebody might be, if you were to consider this suicide, then unfortunately, then the Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salam's incident would also come under that category. Just before, inshallah, I finish off with this riwayah, that when Ismail alayhi salam and Ibrahim alayhi salam then went, and just as the act was about to happen, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed Ismail alayhi salam, and he placed a cattle there, a calf they say. He placed it there instead. Ibrahim alayhi salam turned around, and actually the riwayah says he spoke to the knife and said, I commanded you to slaughter my son, but you didn't slaughter him, you slaughtered a calf instead. And the riwayah says that in its own language, whatever that means, that those are the word of the narration. It says that Ya'muruni Jalil wa yanhani Khalil. He says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one side you're telling me to slaughter Ismail, but Allah told me not to, and that's why I didn't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, placed a calf instead of him. Now, after these tests that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam went through, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Oh Ibrahim, I am granting you the mansab of Imam. Now you've become an Imam. Before this, you were a Nabi, you were a Rasul, you were a Prophet, but you wasn't an Imam. That goes to show that it's a higher level. What is the purpose of Imamah? Well, firstly, it becomes clear because it's a mansab that's higher than Risalat and Nabuwat, we have to know about it. At another point, why is Imam, or what are the signs of Imamah? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that if you want to see an Imam, these are the signs you'll find in him. He says, Yakunu an yakuna mansusan min Allah. An yakuna mansusan min Allah. He will become the mansus, meaning he will be the appointed one through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's sign number one. Yuftaradu ta'a. Muftaradun ta'a. Everyone will be ordered and commanded to follow him and obey the Imam alayhi salam. That's sign number two. Then he says, وَيَكُونُ أَعْلَمَ النَّاسِ, and he is going to be the one that has the most knowledge amongst the people. وَيَكُونُ أَشْجَعَ النَّاسِ, and he will be the most brave of the people. And furthermore, this is the fifth sign that the Imam alayhi salam shows. He says, and this Imam, what else will be the sign of the Imam? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have put the love of this Imam in the hearts of mu'mineen. So the mu'mineen automatically will be drawn towards this person who's the Imam of the time. Many people ask when Imam Zamana comes, what are the, how are we going to know it's really truly him? First, we have the five, Hatmi signs of the Imam alayhi salam coming, right? The Sunnah and the solar and the lunar eclipse happening in opposite, ways. And the incident of Mecca and Medina. And other than that, this Hassani that's going to be killed in Mecca. And then also the Khuruj of Sufyani, meaning the army of Sufyani that will come and fight the Muslimin in Kufa. Those are the five Hatmi signs, meaning the definite signs of the Imam alayhi salam's reappearance. Other than that, how will you know? Maybe we can stick to those five signs as well. That you will feel in your heart that you're drawn to this person. With the other signs, if they're also to fall in place, then inshallah it will become really easy to find the Imam alayhi salam of our time. Other than that, why is it important to understand Imam? At one point, Imam Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, with his ashab, goes for a walk. Now, it doesn't mention for what reason, but it's a walk. At one point, the Imam alayhi salam stops and he says, I would like to utter a few words. Imam alayhi salam says, know that the purpose of life is what? Ma'rifatullah. Know that the purpose of life is to be God conscious and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists and have his awareness of of his existence. A Sahabi turned around and said, Ya Mawla, can you tell us what exactly is ma'rifatullah for us? How are we to gain the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How can we gain it? Imam alayhi salam smiled and he says, Ma'rifatullah hiya ma'rifatu imam zamanikum. If you want to gain the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, merely gain the ma'rifah of the imam of your time. If you gain that, because through the Imam alayhi salam, you'll gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through the existence of the Imam alayhi salam, you'll come towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, right? So, what's the main purpose of the whole concept of imamah? Imamah is not there for us to prove imamah itself. The Imam alayhi salam did not come and show us all these miracles and all these amazing things, and all these amazing sciences that we were aware of because of the Imam alayhi salam, just so that we could praise the Imam alayhi salam. The Imams never wanted that. The Imams alayhi salam did not care about themselves. They would only show us all the manaqib and all this ilm and the sciences. They would only do anything and everything but for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It would only be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the sacrifice they made in Karbala was also only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll take it back. This will be my last sentence and inshallah I'll walk into Masaib. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he went and he wanted to slaughter his son Ismail alayhi salam, what does he do? He brings a blindfold and a knife. Because Ibrahim alayhi salam knew how difficult it would be for him to sacrifice his own son Ismail. It wasn't an easy job for Ibrahim alayhi salam. In fact, it wouldn't be easy for anyone. Those are also the characteristics of the Anbiya and the Aimma alayhimus salam, that they are willing to even sacrifice their own children. I often give this example. One thing is to stay hungry yourself. Another thing is to tolerate the hunger of your children. One thing is to be in pain yourself. Another thing is to tolerate the pain that your children are enduring. That's two different things. Sayyid Zahra Salamu alayha, when she asked Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, can you go bring some food? Hasanain haven't eaten properly for 2 days. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam went out. He said, I have some money. I'll go spend it on some fruit and bring it back. As Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam steps into the home, he comes empty-handed. Sayyid Zahra says, Oh Ali, I asked you to bring some food and you come empty-handed. Amirul Mu'mineen says, I saw an old person that was hungry on the way and I saw him more befitted and I gave it to him. I felt bad for him. Sayyid Zahra, what does she do? Now, remember, one thing is to be in pain yourself, be in hunger yourself. No, another thing is to actually tolerate your own children's hunger. Sayyid Zahra did not complain. She actually went on the musalla and the sajjada and she thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving her a husband like Ali ibn Abi Talib, a husband like Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Likewise, Ibrahim alayhi salam was willing to make the sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indeed, but it wasn't an easy task. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he brought Ismail alayhi salam under the knife, he blindfolded himself. He knew it wasn't easy for him to slaughter his own son. But I say, O Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, that was one Ismail. I wish you would have come to Karbala to see how Hussein ibn Ali is sacrificing Ismail, sometimes in the face of Ali Akbar, sometimes in the shape of Ali al-Asghar, sometimes the Ismail of Karbala in the shape of Qasim alayhi salam. It wasn't an easy task. But Imam Hussein alayhi salam was fully aware that this sacrifice is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This majlis is of the Bibi's return to Medina. But just before we mention Sayyidah Zainab's return to Medina, I'd like you to come with me to Karbala. At the time when Imam Hussein alayhi salam stood right in front of the tent and said, Ya Zainabu, Ya Kulthum, Ya Ruqayya, alaykunna minni salam. The Imam alayhi salam says, O Zainab, O Kulthum, O Ruqayya, this is my last farewell. Fi amanillah. As Sayyidah Zainab salamullah alayha hears this, she says, Oh my brother, why don't you walk inside. Why don't you come inside the tent? But the Imam alayhi salam says, I fear that if a child sees my state, the child will actually lose his life. He will die or she will die by looking at me. Why? What state was Imam Hussein alayhi salam in? Imam Hussein alayhi salam, now the Maqatil book and the Tariq mentions that his eyebrows were cut and his beard was full of the blood of Ali al-Asghar, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam had so many cuts on his body that at one point Rasulullah, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was only 3 years old, Rasulullah, what is it that he calls him? He says, Assalamu alayka ya ayn al-baqa. Why? Because there is a specific insect which in its eye has 100 above 1,200 scars. It looks like small little scars within the eye. Allah's Prophet is now saying Assalamu alayka ya ayn al-baqa. With other words, Rasulullah is saying Salam upon you, O my Hussein. There will have more than 1,200 wounds on his body. Imam Hussein alayhi salam from top to toe is now covered with the wounds. When Shaykh al-Mufid in his dream, and this narration, I just mentioned this, I just read this the other day actually. Shaykh al-Mufid in his dream, he sees that I saw that Hussein ibn Ali was fully covered in wounds, wound scars, from top to toe. He had more than 1,000 scars on him. But he says, I didn't really pay much attention to it. Next day, I went to sleep again. I thought it was a dream. I'm a non-ma'soom. It's not hujjah upon me. He says, next day I went to sleep again. But when I went to sleep this time, Imam Hussein appeared again. This time he had no scars left beside 3 scars. He says, only 3 scars were left on his chest. I asked the Imam, oh Imam, when you came yesterday, your whole body was covered with wounds and scars. And today you only have 3 left. The Imam alayhi salam says, remember, O Shaykh Mufid, whenever somebody in this world cries upon me, who claims to love me and cries upon me, yani is the azadar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, my mother Zahra goes with a handkerchief and she gathers all the tears of these mu'mineen into the handkerchief, and then she comes and she rubs it against my body. All these scars and wounds have disappeared. But then Shaykh Mufid says, oh Mawla, but I still see 3 scars left. What are those scars? Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, those are not the scars that have come upon me because of Banu Umayyah. The first scar is the scar of Ali Akbar, which will never fade away until Yawm al-Qiyamah, until day of judgment. And he says, Mawla, what is this second scar on your chest? Imam alayhi salam says, this second scar is the scar of my brother Abbas. It's the second scar. The second scar and the wound is the wound of Abbas ibn Ali. Then he says, but Mawla, this big scar and wound I see on your chest, what is this? He says, this is the scar and the wound that was created because of Zainab and Kulsum's burqa, because of Zainab and Kulsum's veils. Azadaran, Matami, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was stood right in front, Sayyidah Zainab said, I guarantee you, why don't you come inside? Even though I see you are fully covered in wounds. Imam Hussein alayhi salam enters the tent and she says, oh Sister Zainab, can you go bring me my old shirt? Just bring me an old shirt. Sayyidah Zainab says, why, O Hussein? If we make a dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a shirt for you from Jannah itself. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, no, I want to have such an old shirt on me that at one point when everybody is going to steal everything from me, then yet I want something on my body for when you come and visit me. Sayyidah Zainab salamullah alayha goes to Sayyidah Fidda, Amma Fidda, go bring me an old shirt from the sunduq. So Sayyidah Fidda says, I went, and as soon as I saw this shirt, Sayyidah Zainab says, I saw that Fidda started to cry. She says, I went near Fidda, I said, why do you cry? You just merely brought this shirt. She says, no, you don't remember. You were only 3 years old and your mother was sewing this shirt and she was also crying. Cryingly, she said to me, Fidda, tell my Zainab, whenever your brother Hussein asks for this, then know that he's not going to come back again. Know that he is going towards Shahada. Imam Hussein alayhi alayhi salam is now meeting his sister. Zainab now knows that my brother is not going to come back again. Azadaran, my Matami brothers, I ask you, imagine this Zainab that could not live without Hussein, this Zainab that could not live a second without Hussein, leave alone now that she knows that Hussein is not going to come back. Sayyida Zainab is now kissing the beard of Hussein, kissing the hands of Hussein, kissing the feet of Hussein. Oh Hussein, let me kiss you. I know you're not going to come back. Azadaran, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, just before leaving the tent, what does he do? He goes where Sayyid al-Sajjad is laying on the bed. Sayyid al-Sajjad, Ali al-Sajjad is now laying on the bed. Let me just share something with you. I knew a brother, an elderly brother. He had 5 sons himself. 4 of them got killed and there was only 1 left. You know what he said to me? He said to me, Sayyidina, now those 4 that have been killed are shuhada today. Their faces, I only see them in this 1 son that's left. I say, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam went to Sayyid al-Sajjad and he must have looked at the face of Sajjad, he must have seen Ali al-Akbar within his face. He must have seen Ali al-Asghar by looking at Sayyid al-Sajjad. Now that Imam Hussein alayhi salam comes, the riwayah mentions, Imam alayhi salam bows over. Just as he bows over, the tear from his cheek now runs down and hits the face of Sayyid al-Sajjad. The riwayah mentions Sayyid al-Sajjad opens his eyes and says one jumla. He says, Ya ayyuhal gharib man anta. He said, Oh gharib, I don't recognize you. Tell me who you are. Sayyid Zainab cryingly said, Oh Sajjad, recognize him. Your dad has been carrying corpses since the morning. This is your father Hussein ibn Ali. Azadaran, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, now he's about to ride his horse and go towards the battlefield of Karbala. Sayyida Sakina, in a narration, it mentions that she kept calling her father, but because of the loud cries of the ladies of the tent, Sayyida Imam Hussein alayhi salam could not hear Sakina cry. So now this time also he could not hear Sakina call upon him. But now that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is sat on the horse, Imam Hussein alayhi salam commands the horse, move ahead, we have to go towards Shahada now. But this horse would not move his feet. As he would not move his feet, I ask you, isn't everything that's possible or exists in this world, everything has to obey the holy Imam? Now that the Imam is asking this horse, there must be a reason for why it's not moving its feet. It says in its own language, Ya Mawla, look at my feet. Azadaran, now that Imam Hussein alayhi salam looked down, he sees that Sakina is clinging on to the feet of the horse and she is saying, Oh please Dhul Janah, do not take my father with you. Do not take my father that way with you. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, Oh Sakina, you were the one that said you were thirsty. Sayyida Sakina now turns around. She says, Oh father, by Allah, I am no longer thirsty, because whoever goes to bring me water never comes back again. Azadaran, Imam Hussein alayhi salam at one point reaches the battlefield of Karbala. Now that he's in the Maidan of Karbala, the narration mentions that Imam alayhi salam is walking a few steps and then he falls again. Then he walks a few steps and he falls again. If somebody was to say he remembered what happened to Abbas, that's why he couldn't carry himself. He remembered what happened to Qasim, that's why he couldn't carry himself. But all of that would be true, but that's not the case. The narration says, ضُرِبَ بِالرِّمَاحٍ وَالسُّيُوفٍ وَالْأَخْشَابِ وَالْأَحْجَارِ. The Imam alayhi salam would walk a bit and somebody would strike him with a sword and he would fall onto the ground. Then he would walk a bit again and somebody would go and hit him with a wooden stick and he'd fall again. Somebody would go and then the Imam alayhi salam would stand up and walk again, and as he would walk again, somebody who had no sword, somebody who had no spears, even with somebody who had no rock in his hand, no pebble in his hand, I swear by Allah, the narration mentions that they would take the dirt of Karbala, they would take the sand of Karbala and hit Hussein ibn Ali with it. Azadaran, Matamdaran, at the end, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, I do not want to mention the whole shahada of the Imam alayhi salam. Just remember this one sentence, that when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was killed, when he reached the status of shahada, Sayyida Zainab salamullah alayha was the first one that came to the corpse of Imam Hussein, but it was headless. When she came, now just imagine that Zainab that couldn't live without Hussein, that Zainab that couldn't breathe without Hussein. Now, when she comes to that same brother's body and the corpse, what is it that she says? She comes and she asks a question, Anta Akhil Hussein? She says, I do not recognize you anymore. Are you the one that's my brother? Are you Hussein ibn Ali? The narration mentions that she heard a voice saying, yes, I am Hussein ibn Ali. It was a very difficult, this Safar that was upon Sayyidah Zainab. You know, she traveled from Karbala to Kufa and from Kufa to Sham. I'll leave all the Masaib to one side and come to the main Masaib that I want to mention today. Sayyidah Zainab Salamullah alayha was approached by Imam Sajjad at one point in Sham as they imprisoned. The Imam alayhi salam says that Yazid says, O Sajjad, I have freed you. You can go to your homes now. You can go to your lands now. Sayyidah Zainab Salamullah alayha said, no. Before we leave, I have three conditions. First of the conditions are what? First condition is that he allows us to do a majlis for my brother Hussein ibn Ali in Sham. She says, second condition is that he returns all of the shuhada's heads back again. Third condition is what? That he gives us back that burqa and that veil that he, Shimr al-La'in, took away from my head. It wasn't the veil of mine, it was my mother Zahra's veil. I want it back again. Azadaran, it is mentioned that when this majlis of Imam Hussein happened, the musibah was read by Sayyidah Sajjad and Sayyidah Zainab. But Imam Sajjad alayhi salam says, after the majlis, I saw Robab, my mother Robab, walk towards the prisons again. I said, oh mother, where are you going now? She says, I am going to just to call upon Sakina to say, oh Ruqayya, your father's head has been given now. We've been given the head of Ali al-Asghar. We've been given the head of Hussein. Come, let's go back to Medina. But I can't hear my daughter. Azadaran, you know, when the heads were given back, the Rawi says that I saw that as every lady was walking towards her children's head, I saw that there were two heads. They were there. They were very young children, but I thought the mother had passed away when I went around and I said, is there no one to take to welcome those two heads? Is their mother not alive anymore? Fidda said, no. You see that lady that's by Hussein's head? This is the mother of those two sons. Their names was Aun and Muhammad. Sayyidah Zainab Salamullah alayha, the narration mentions, the Maqatil books mention that this Qafila of Imam Hussein alayhi salam now leaves Sham. As they leave Sham, now this is the day of Arba'in. They leave and they reach Karbala on the day of Arba'in. Imam Hussein alayhi salam at this point, Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari with his friend Atiyah are also there. Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari says, I have lost my eyesight. I don't know where the grave of Imam Hussein is. He says, oh Atiyah, help me. Atiyah says, I don't really know this is either. I can't really tell where the grave of Imam Hussein is. Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari called upon Imam Hussein, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. That's when he heard Imam Hussein alayhi salam's voice say, Wa alayka assalam ya sahib Rasulillah. Oh, the companion of Rasul, this is where I am. He comes to the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and he starts to give him the condolences of Ali al-Akbar and Ali al-Asghar. Just as he's about to finish, he says, I heard the voice of Hussein saying, Jabir, leave my grave. He says, I was astonished, I was surprised. I turned around and I said, Mawla, have I done anything wrong that you're telling me to move away from your grave? He says, no, oh Uncle Jabir, that's not the case. Turn around and look, my sister Zainab is coming to visit my grave. Turn around and look, Zainab is coming to visit my grave. Sayyidah Zainab came, and this time it was different. Sayyidah Zainab had time. She cried upon the grave of Imam Hussein. She went where Ali al-Akbar was struck. She saw the place where Ali al-Asghar was held by the father. She saw all these makan. But at one point, Sayyid Sajjad says, Sayyida Zainab, Ya Ammati, we have to leave now. Sayyida Zainab says, no, I will not leave before I give my one last pursa to one shaheed that you have forgotten. She says, Imam Sajjad says, who is that shaheed? She says, that is the shaheed who gave me the guarantee of my will in Medina. Sayyida Zainab came to the grave of Abbas alayhi salam, but this pursa was very different. Let me tell you why. Because as soon as she came to the grave of Abbas, she said, Abbas, remember when I left Karbala, I couldn't come to you, I couldn't come to your corpse, but I'll tell you why, because then Zainab didn't have no veil. Sayyida Zainab wasn't in her burqa this time. That's why the narration mentions when Sayyida Zainab came to Abbas, she said, Abbas, now open your eyes, they have given me my veil back. Abbas, open your eyes, I'm in my hijab again. Azadaran Matamis, this qafila of Imam Hussein and Sayyid Sajjad with the ladies and all the captives that were now freed, they're now leaving towards Medina. As soon as they're about to enter Medina, the narration says that Sayyida Kulthum, she recited a marthiya. What was the first sentence of that marthiya? She said, Ya Medina tajaddina la taqbilina. She says, Oh Medina, we are about to enter you, but oh the city of our grandfather Prophet, please don't welcome us, because I am coming alone. We have left Ali al-Akbar, we have left Qasim, we have left Ali al-Asghar, we have left Sayyida Sakina Ruqayya in Sham. Now we are coming on our own. Please don't welcome us. Azadaran, Sayyida Zainab Salamullah alayha, and this will be my last sentence for today. For those of you that are here to cry upon Sayyida Zainab's musibah, let me ask you one thing. Whenever a daughter who's married away, when she comes to a home, who does she freely speak to? The father or the mother? The father or the mother? Whenever the father will ask you, how are you? She'll say, I'm okay. But when she'll reach her mother, she will really and truly leave out all her feelings. She'll say, oh mother, this is what happened to me. That person have wronged me. Meaning she will fully express her feelings. I swear by God, Sayyida Zainab Salamullah alayha, the first thing that she does is what? She goes to Jannatul Baqi and she hugs the grave of her mother Zahra, and she says, oh Mother Zahra, Shimar hit me so hard that I fell onto the ground, and then Shimar with his spear took my veil. Oh Sayyida Zahra, oh Mother Zahra, I didn't give it away by my will. I didn't just freely give my chadar away. That was not the case. From one end I was pulling it, from the other end Shimar was pulling it. I was hungry, I was thirsty, and I was a woman. He was a man, and he had eaten, and his thirst has been quenched. Oh Mother Zahra, he took away my chadar. But that's not only the case. Wherever I went in Kufa and Sham, oh Mother Zahra, they'd point towards me and say, that is the daughter of Ali, that is the daughter of Zahra, oh Mother. And at that point, when they would point towards us and say, that is the daughter of Zahra, that is the daughter of Ali, that's why Imam Sajjad alayhi salam in Sham, what does he say? Ya layta lam talidni ummi. He says, oh Allah, I wish Sajjad was never born. I cannot bear to see Zainab Kulthum and people mentioning their names. Matame Hussein.
Hussein, Ya 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 Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین ہائے یا حسین 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 اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں میں وارث تطہیر ہوں میں وارث تطہیر ہوں ناموں سے نبی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں سب مل کے اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں بازار سے دربار میں لے آئے ہو مجھ کو چاہو تو جلا سکتی ہوں خطبوں سے میں تم کو صابر کی بہن ہوں جو میں صابر کی بہن ہوں جو میں خاموش کھڑی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی 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 ہوں افسوس کنیزی میں اسے مانگ رہے ہو تم جس کے غلاموں کی غلامی میں رہے ہو یہ ظلم نہ ہوگا کبھی میں زندہ بھی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی 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 ہوں تم اپنے پیمبر کو اگر دیکھنا چاہو نیزے پہ جو یہ سر ہے اسے غور سے دیکھو ہم شکل پیمبر ہے یہ میں اس کی پھوپھی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی 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 ہوں زہرا کو بھی دربار میں تم نے تھا بلایا دربار میں بھی ہوں مگر فرق ہے اتنا پردے میں تھی وہ اور میں بے پردہ کھڑی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں، اے شام کے لوگوں میں بنت علی ہوں، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، ہے اپنے ہاتھوں کی طرف، اپنے ہاتھوں کی طرف دیکھ رہا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، ہے اپنے ہاتھوں کی طرف، اپنے ہاتھوں کی طرف دیکھ رہا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، ہے دیکھا شبیر کو جب اپنی طرف آتے ہوئے، اپنے مولا کی وہ تعظیم بھلا کیسے کرے، اٹھنا چاہا ہے مگر، اٹھنا چاہا ہے مگر اٹھ نہ سکا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، ہے گرز جب سے ہے لگا خون رواں ہے سر سے، کیوں نہ اس غم میں میری آنکھ سے آنسو برسے، ہے اپنے ہاتھوں سے بھی موہ، اپنے ہاتھوں سے بھی موہ تاج ہوا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، ہے یاد جب بالی سکینہ کی اسے پیاس آئی، ہائے عباس کے دل پر قیامت لائی، خالی کوزوں کے لیے، خالی کوزوں کے لیے روتا رہا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، ہے اپنے ہاتھوں کی طرف، اپنے ہاتھوں کی طرف دیکھ رہا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، حیا علی کہتے ہوئے تیر پہ جب ہاتھ رکھا آنکھ سے تیر نکالا تو یہ سرور نے کہا بھائی کہہ دو یہی ہے، بھائی کہہ دو یہی ہے، مان میرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی، منہ کے بل خاک پہ گھوڑے سے گرا ہے غازی۔ حیا علی خیر العمل، 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 یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، وہ عابد بیمار تھا، وہ عابد بیمار تھا، چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا، چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا، اور شام کا بازار تھا، اور شام کا بازار تھا، اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی، شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی، سینے پہ جو شاکے پلی، سینے پہ جو شاکے پلی، جس کی عبا بن میں جلی، جس کی عبا بن میں جلی، منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین، مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔
بسم اللہ یا علی، السلام علیک یا رسول اللہ، السلام علیک یا مولا علی مشکل کشا، السلام علیک یا بیبی فاطمة الزہرا سیدۃ نساء العالمین، السلام علیک یا بیبی خدیجۃ الکبری ام المؤمنین، السلام علیک امام حسن مجتبی، السلام علیک یا ابا عبداللہ حسین ولا علی ابن الحسین ولا اولاد الحسین ولا اصحاب الحسین، خصوصا سیدی ابو الفضل العباس ابن امیر المؤمنین واختك زینب بنتك سکینہ جميعا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ السلام علیکم امام زین العابدین، السلام علیکم امام محمد باقر، السلام علیکم امام جعفر صادق، السلام علیکم امام موسیٰ کاظم، السلام علیکم امام علی الرضا، السلام علیکم امام تقی الجواد، السلام علیکم امام علی النقی، السلام علیکم امام حسن عسکری ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ السلام علیکم یا مولا یا صاحب العصر والزمان، الامان الامان الامان، السلام علیکم یا شریک القرآن، السلام علیکم امام الانس والجان، عجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وشاء اللہ مخرجک وظہورک ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ اللہم صل علی محمد وآل محمد۔
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، اللہم کن لولیک الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتک علیہ وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.